Good morning. We're going to talk today about how to create and deploy a Rails application using Heroku. That's a service on the web, and they deploy their websites created on Rails in a cloud service, actually on Amazon cloud service. So they can create and manage all of these sites very easily. So first you want to go to Heroku.com and create a login, sign up for it. The smallest level is free. You can look at the pricing. And it's free for databases that are 5 megabytes or less, and it's a shared system, so they're not as fast, but it certainly works great for testing and deploying. And then you can always pay for things later as you get more and more traffic. So you first want to sign up, and you can do that in the login page. This shows also that it was created in Rails. All right, let's move on. I've already logged in, created my account. These are some sites that I've already created and deployed just for fun. And we're going to go to the Dev Center, and it has a walkthrough of how to create and install all the right components. Now, it might seem a little daunting at first to get this all done, but once it's completed, deploying new systems is very easy to do. A lot of this is just setting it up for the first time. So we want to come down to Getting Started with Heroku in the Dev Center. And this is what we're going to go through, this entire page. And we first need to have Rails and Ruby installed, which we have. I have Ruby installed on the system, 192. I have Rails version 307. And then I need to install Git, which is a version control system that they use quite heavily. So let's go ahead and walk through how to install that on Windows. We want to download the Git for Windows, this 1.74 preview.executable. So I'm going to go ahead and download that file and execute it and install the Git software so that I can create my own local repositories for version control. Now that it's completed downloading, let's go ahead and launch this. And we want to allow this, yes. Go through the installer, select all the free spaces, and just select the defaults for all of these. I think we'll be fine. All right, we'll just select the defaults. This has to do with line feed changes between, so if you had team members working on a Mac or a Linux box, you'd want to have these change, but let's just select the default again. Go ahead and let it install. And I don't want to review the release notes. Let's just quit. And now I have Git installed. So let's go back and find the what I need to do next. Create a Heroku account, and we need to install the Heroku gem. So we already did an account. You can sign in yourself. Install the Heroku gem. So all we have to do is gem install Heroku. Gem install Heroku. That will install it to my local computer. All right, so we've installed the gem, and now we need to set up some SSH keys. So let's go. Well, let's first create a Rails app and track it using Git. So I'm in my Rails project. I say Rails new, and we'll call it gradebook. So that creates my new Rails project. Remember that it created a file called gitignore. Oh, I have to go into the gradebook directory And there's a file called get_ignore that has different files that are put on the get_ignore list, similar to Subversion. So all I have to do is type get init, and unfortunately that doesn't work the same on Windows as it does on other systems, because get is not run from the normal command prompt. I have to actually run the get bash program, and that's a Windows environment that lets me do a lot of the same things. I can do Unix commands, so I have to type ls to look at directories. I have to say cd to change directories into the right place. So I'm going to go to users, and then I need to go into Dave Jones, because it has a space in it. I have to put quotes around it. I'm already in the Dave Jones directory, so sorry, the get bash puts me in my own directory. So I just need to go to Rails projects and gradebook, and I type ls. I can see the files. These are Unix commands because this is really a Unix program, this get. I need to run these commands now. Get init creates a local repository in this directory, and if I do ls-al, I should see a .get. This is similar to Subversion. This is a directory with a D, a directory that stores a local database of all the changes of my get repository. Then I want to get add dot. That means add everything to the local Git repository recursively. And then I want to say, I want to call a commit command with a message, -m, and then the message is going to say new gradebook app created. Similar to Subversion, I'm able to add messages for all of my commits. All right, so now it's committed, and I need to move on to the next piece over here. I need to set up some what they call SSH keys. It's a secure transport that lets me have it's like setting up an HTTPS connection between a browser and a website. I can set up the same type of connection between so that my FTP and transferring files back and forth is all secure. So we need to do that, and they have commands for that, how to do that on Windows. So they say go ahead and download and install Git, which we did. Everything's all done there. We scroll all the way to the bottom, and we're going to set up our SSH keys. So if we already have an existing key, then we can skip this. So we need to see if that's available. Inside of the Git bash window, we can type these. We can start typing these commands. So I'm going to say cd //.ssh. There is no such file or directory. That means I don't have any keys installed. So now I need to remove them. I don't need to back up and remove. I need to generate a new key. So I'm going to run the program here to generate a new SSH key, SSH-keygen -t RSA -c, and then put in your username that you signed up for with Heroku, and let it generate that file. Now it says enter which file, press enter, and we're just going to select enter. Passphrase. Any passphrase you want, and you just have to enter the same thing again. Notice it didn't show the passphrase on the screen, and that creates these local SSH keys for me. All right, so we don't need to set this up on GitHub. That would be if we wanted to store our Git repository on GitHub. We don't need to do that, so we're going to skip that. And we're going to actually go back to Heroku's site and continue on. So we set up our SSH keys. This is where Heroku's instructions fail a little bit. So after we've set up our SSH keys, we want to go back and click on Get Started again. And that gives me 3 different links. One of them is Get Started with Heroku on Windows. The other one was the one we were at. So let's click on the Get Started with Heroku on Windows, and you'll see it's similar, and it talks about using this Rails installer. Once I set up my SSH keys, though, I need to do this command, Heroku keys add. So I do that over here, Heroku keys :add, and that will actually send my public key to Heroku so that they can decompress the files and unencrypt them as they go across the internet. Once I've done that, we can go back to the getting started with Heroku and continue on where we left off. Set up your SSH keys we've done. Now we can start creating our Heroku application. I do Heroku create. And it creates a new site for me. And if you haven't entered your username and password, it will ask you for that at that point. Once I've created the Heroku application, I can now push that to Heroku. So I can send all of my data from my Rails app using this command. It goes and finds all of the data and creates what they call a slug, which is basically a zipped, compressed file that they upload to Heroku. And then on the Heroku side, they uncompress that and put everything in the right place. It also goes through and basically does a bundle install on the remote server as well, so that everything is fine. It launches it out correctly. And now I should be able to go to this name, Radiant Ice 753, which is a new name that it gives for every new application. And so I'm going to go to Radiant Ice 753.heroku.com. And let's see, so there's my Rails application. This link, Ajax link, doesn't work right on Heroku, but that's fine. So at least it's working. I have a Rails app there now. So let's go and try to change something on my Rails application. At this point, I could actually run the DB migrate, but I don't have any migrations created. So I'm in my gradebook. How do we generate a blog, for instance? So I'm going to say Rails generate blog, and it's going to have a title, which is a string, and an author, which is a string, and a content, which is text. And it's going to do the generations. Oops, I have to say Rails generate scaffold, blog, name of the blog, title, string, authors, string, content, text. So this will run the scaffold generator, create me a blog model view controller, and create the migration that I need. And so let's do a git add everything again, and a git commit with a message and say created blog pred. All right, that commits everything to the repository. And then when I want to change the Heroku site, I need to do a get push Heroku. So I say get push Heroku. That will push any new changes that are different from their site to mine. And it does this, creates the slug again, finds out which files are changed, runs the bundle install if necessary. All of that same process happens every time I commit. All right, once that finishes, it sends and runs the bundle install again, and everything is happy, but I need to run the migration on the production server. So Heroku is my production server, so I'm going to say Heroku rake db migrate. That runs the db migration command on the remote server and creates the tables that I just had. So I created the blogs table, everything is all happy. So now let's go to look at my site/blogs, and I should see the page that the scaffolding created, and I can actually create a new blog and say this is cool, create the blog, and it's creating it on the Postgres database that Heroku manages for me. So this is all happily listed. I've got content now in production. And anytime I want to change something and push it to the public side, I just make those changes in my local repository and then push them to Heroku. So let's take away, let's look at a file. So let's look at, let's open Notepad++. And close all of this stuff and open up the file that is in my Rails projects gradebook, and I want to change the route. So the route file is in the config folder. I'm going to change the routes file, and we're going to make the top level page go to a particular controller. So I'm going to have it go to the blogs controller / sharp index, save that file, and that file is now changed. So I have to say git commit everything, and if I forget to put the message in, it brings up a little editor that lets me add a message. Modified, modified routes file. Unfortunately, this is a VI editor and a Unix editor, so you're better off not having to learn this. Just type the command git commit -m and then the message. All right, so that should have sent the file to the remote server. It committed the file to the repository. Now I need to say get push Heroku. And it's going to go through the same creation of the slug and find out any files that have changed and go through that process. The commit finished. I can go back to my browser and try to go to the top level now and see what happens. Well, what's the problem? Well, I forgot to delete the public file index.html. Remember that having the route there isn't good enough if there's already an index.html. So I need to go to my public directory and delete the index.html file. And then I need to commit those changes, git commit -m deleted index.html. I have to remove the file using get, so that told me I had an error, so I have to say get, let's go into public, get remove index.html. All right, now I can commit those changes. Get, commit, -m. Let's just go back, use the up arrow, and say one file changed. It sent the new file. There we go. Now I do a get push Heroku. Again, it will create the slug and upload it to. All right, it finished uploading to Heroku. Let's try it again. Reload. Now my route is set up right. The index is gone. It goes straight into the listing of my blogs. So that gives you some idea of making changes. I can actually get the get program is also, and Subversion is also integrated into RubyMine, so you can change and add and deploy straight from RubyMine once you have this get set up. So there you have it.